This is your ultimate stop for everything sports. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Should I say more? From the NFL, MLB, the NBA to MMA, it's all in here. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Listen now.
Thank you for choosing the Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast, where we talk all the latest and greatest news in the world of sports. As always, I am Alex, here on a Tuesday, December 13th, as we get ever closer to Christmas. By myself, of course. Tomorrow, the likes of Ben and Anthony will be back. But, as always, on Tuesday, it is just me. Today, we are talking Monday Night Football, as always, on Tuesday. The Ravens and Patriots game from last night. We will be talking a little bit of coaching news in the NFL as well. And to close the show out, I'll be mentioning a couple of signings in baseball, specifically the last of the trio of free agent closers from this year who did not sign Kenley Jansen, or had yet to, at least, at the end of yesterday's show. So we will take care of that as well. But we are going to start, as always, with the Ravens and the Patriots. The Ravens did fight back a bit, but they ended up losing this one 30-23. The Patriots had just a total handle of this game pretty much from the get-go. Tom Brady, 406 yards passing, 3 scores. He did have an interception, but it didn't turn out to be back-breaking. He played very well. On the other hand, the special teams for the Patriots did not. In this game, surprisingly, for one to watch a Patriots game and watch back-to-back turnovers in a sense, it was pretty interesting, honestly, to say the least. But you look at this. You look at the special teams, I should say, and is a punt to Cyrus Jones after stopping the Ravens, kind of deep. They punt down the field, and as he's fielding it, it hits off his foot. The Ravens go from turning the ball over and down 23 to I want to say around 14 at that point, maybe actually 23 to 10, I think. And they go from turning the ball over, punting the ball yet again, to having the ball on about the 4-yard line, and then they score a touchdown pass from Joe Flacco, who did have a good day as well. He ended the day at 324 and 2, as well as an interception. So, okay, turnover, no build from that. So, of course, they get the ball after kickoff. They kick the ball off. Matthew Slater fumbles the ball on the kickoff. Ravens score again. And just like that, the Ravens were pretty much back in this game. They kind of let them stick around, needless to say. The first score of the game was a safety for the Patriots. At one point they were up 16-3. They were really just kind of handling. They were up 23-3 after Martellus Bennett caught a touchdown pass, and then, like I said, 10-23 at one point. After that turnover, Ken Dixon ran the ball, and then they got after turnover they had a receiving touchdown from Darren Waller, and then the next turnover on the kickoff, just about a minute and a half later, Kenneth Dixon had an 8-yard pass. So that made it 17-23. Justin Tucker did get a field goal. He was a little iffy. He had a kick blocked in this one. Not iffy in terms of accuracy, but he was very... What's the word I'm looking for? He made some of these kicks closer than they should have been, I guess. Surprisingly, you don't see Tucker do that much. Kind of one of the better kickers in the league. He didn't miss any other than the one he got blocked on. You can't really put that on him. Chris Hogan, though, probably his biggest place to date in the NFL, possibly, but especially as a Patriot, caught a 79-yard touchdown pass from Tom Brady that put them up 30-20, and then that's pretty much just closing it out. There's a late field goal there from Justin Tucker, but onside kick was not recovered, and so on and so forth. Chris Hogan finished the day with 5 receptions, 129 yards receiving. I believe that's a career high for him. He did a touchdown as well. James White out of the backfield, 3 for 81, so a good day for him. And Martellus Bennett also picking up the slack of the tight end position that Gronkowski left off. 4 for 70 and a touchdown. The third touchdown for Tom Brady went to Malcolm Butler. You look over, like I mentioned, Joe Flacco, pretty solid day for him. Not great in terms of the running game, though. Kenneth Dixon was the leading rusher. He only had 11 for 39. He had Terrence West adding 2 for 2, an average of 1, obviously, there. And Flacco even did a little scramble run, 1 for 1. We'll look at the receivers. Steve Smith, leading receiver for them, 4 for 57, but the receptions in terms of touchdowns went to Kenneth Dixon, as I mentioned, and Darren Waller. 1 for 3 for Waller there. 8 for 42 for Kenneth Dixon, so a little bit more. You look at Brashad Perriman, he had a long catch of 47, a nice long pass. Mike Wallace seemed to be kind of plagued by a little bit of injuries at times, but he had a decent day, 5 for 52. But unfortunately, the Ravens could not get it done in Foxborough. You know, one kind of would look at the game as we did here, Ben and I. The Patriots had to be favored. You know, they moved to 11-2 on the year. Ravens now 7-6, and unfortunately, they fall out of the playoff positioning now as well. If they had won this game, as long as they stayed and kept pace with the Steelers, whom are 8-5 and technically speaking a game ahead, they would have the tiebreaker head-to-head before they play each other one more time to end the year in a couple of weeks here on Christmas. Excuse me. So they fall out of playoff contention as it stands right now. Patriots obviously now hold pure number one possession of that number one playoff seed in the AFC. Excuse me. As we look at the playoff standings as they stand now, like I said, the Patriots, the Kansas City Chiefs, and then the Steelers are all in those top 3 spots, followed by the Texans in the 4. And then you have the Oakland Raiders at the 5th seed, and you have the Denver Broncos at the 6th seed. If the season ended today, I believe it would be Steelers, Broncos, and Texans, Raiders, I believe, facing off against one another. And then the first 2 out being the Miami Dolphins, who got lucky a bit with no tear to Ryan Tannehill's knee, but he did sprain them significantly and is probably out for the rest of the year. And then the Ravens, of course. So they had their last 3 games of the year, the Ravens. They face the Eagles. That's coming up on the 18th. Then they face the Steelers on Christmas, and on New Year's Day they have the Bengals. So a tough 3-game stretch for them, personally. 2 division games and an Eagle team that has been good in the past, up and down. Has shown flashes, I should say. And then, real quick, we look at the Patriots. Obviously, 11-2, more than likely going to hold on to this number 1 seed. They have the Broncos coming up on the 18th, and they have the Jets on Christmas Eve and on New Year's Day as well, as that is a Sunday, I believe. The Dolphins, and that's going to be in Miami. Those look like 3 games they can win. The Broncos definitely are playing a little down in regards to how they started the year and how they ended last year. The Jets, you look at how they're playing. And the Dolphins, again, as I mentioned, lost their starting quarterback, so it'll be Matt Moore down the stretch and the rest of the way. So, one would assume that Brady would win that game even with Tannehill playing. So I definitely think they could finish this year as it stands now, probably 14-2. Just this epitome of success. Tom Brady having what some would say an MVP season. Some would argue, that he obviously was missing some time because of suspension early in the year, and that maybe shouldn't make him eligible for it. I'm not going to really get into that because it's not an easy conversation to have by yourself. But maybe we can later this week when there's a few more of us. And real quick, one last, I love little fun facts, and especially fun football facts. Real quick before we move on and take our first break, the Patriots, after winning last night's game, have now won at least 11 games, 7 seasons in a row, tying an NFL record set by the 2003 to 2009 Indianapolis Colts. That's very good Like, that's very good. That longevity, that's consistency, that's just skill. It's good coaching, good quarterbacking. I mean, it's a team that sits in 4th in the league with passing yards, 7th in the league in rushing yards, 5th in the league for points for, and I would be hard-pressed to look at a lot of the seasons in which they won all those games and not have similar-ish numbers. All right, let's take our first break. We'll be right back here in just a moment. We're going to talk a little bit of coaching news from the NFL. So we'll take our first break. Be right back at the Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
And we are back here at the Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast, and we're going to move into some coaching news, something that kind of everybody saw coming, I suppose you could say. It's kind of a matter of time, and that is the Los Angeles Rams have relieved Coach Jeff Fisher of his coaching duties. They have fired him as of yesterday. Rams interim head coach John Fossil will be the guy to take over. You look at his team, I mean, it's been kind of bad from the get-go, and it's unfortunate in my respect. You got the guy Fossil. He's I believe their special teams coach. One thing he's done all year, his punter Johnny Hecker leads the league in punting net average and percentage of punts inside the 20, so that's pretty good. But I mean, Jeff Fisher, as it stands right now, has 165 career losses, and yes, obviously not all those were with the Rams, but it's just not surprising that he got released. I mean, maybe surprising with the timing, perhaps, but personally, it's not surprising overall. Now, why it happened now and not a little earlier in the season or at the end of the season, it depends. Maybe if they're going after somebody. There's a potential rumor that they might be going after Jim Harbaugh, which would be very interesting, trying to force him away from Michigan there. But as it stands, you look at the statement from, the owner and chairman of the Rams, Stan Kroenke. He was quoted saying, "I have great respect for Jeff as a coach, a person, a father, a friend. He worked tirelessly despite some challenging circumstances. He played an integral role in helping this team make history and returning to L.A., and will always be grateful for his commitment and dedication to our organization." You look at Jeff Fisher, and I made a mention of this yesterday to Ben. To me, Jeff Fisher is a good football coach, but his issue is you look at a lot of the teams that he did well with. The Titans when they went to the Super Bowl against the Rams, funny enough, St. Louis at that time. The Titans again a little later in the mid-2000s when Vince Young showed up. They had some veteran presence. They had Chris Johnson when he was, quote-unquote, the CJ2K version of himself. He can coach these teams, but it always seems to me as if he isn't in a position to always build these teams as well. It's like he can't consistently build through a team, and that's not always his responsibility. That's also the responsibility of a GM, obviously. That's their job to do so as well as the coach with their help, but he's never quite seemed to be, he gets the Rams And they're already a losing team when he gets there. I forget who the coach was there before him. They're already losing games. They're 7-9. Luckily this year, if they can win the last 3 games, as it stands right now, they're 4-9. And they're so famous. So famously, he said that he's tired of being a 7-9 and 8-8 team. Well, unfortunately, you ended the year, winning 4 games, technically speaking. So, yeah, I think he'll get hired somewhere else. Maybe he'll retire. He was kind of out of coaching for a little while. I think out of the before they got the Rams job after the Titans. Maybe a coordinator job. I believe he's a defensive-minded guy. So it'll be interesting to see if somebody does go after him. I don't think there'll be many job openings. Maybe Rex Ryan with the Bills being fired. Excuse me. I believe personally that Chip Kelly is safe. I don't think the Chargers will fire their coach. Maybe the Bears fire John Fox, but I don't know how many good coach candidates there are this year other than Jeff Fisher. Rivera is very much safe, obviously. The Niners, like I said, I doubt it. The Browns don't think they're firing Hugh Jackson. Maybe in New York with Todd Bowles, but I don't think so. Maybe Gus Bradley in Jacksonville, but I also don't think so. So it'll be interesting to see exactly how many job openings there are. I mean, currently, as it stands right now, there's 1. There's rumors that Rex Ryan can be fired, so that'd make 2. Do I think Jeff Fisher can go to the Bills? No, not at all. Do I think somebody would give Rex Ryan a possibility with a team? Yeah. With his persona, I could see him fitting in L.A., but do they want to go hire a coach that's not exactly winning games? They're 6-7 this year. Yeah, he's gotten them in a good position, and he definitely knows how to work with teams with a good defense, a good running back, and a young quarterback, a la the Jets back in 2009, 2010. So that actually is interesting. I might bring that up to Jeremiah on the football show when he comes in here in a little while, and maybe Ben as well this week, and Anthony. But not a lot of openings at the coaching position. Also, maybe, very maybe, because they were in contention for the playoffs at a lot of points this year, maybe Pagano with the Colts. But I don't know yet. I mean, there was a rumor that they did it last year, and then he got an extension. Or at least, I think extension. So it'll be interesting to see exactly how many openings there will be. Personally, I don't think that many, but you never know. The NFL's a crazy, wacky thing. All right, we're going to take our last break. We're going to come back and talk a little bit of baseball news, a few baseball things to clear up in terms of some signings and some news. So we'll do that in just a minute here at the Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast.
Do you want to be healthier, yet you just don't know what to do? All these shows telling you this and that, but nothing seems to work. Well, listen close. Golden State Media Concepts has got something great for you. The Health and Wellness Podcast dedicated to workout trends, healthy eating habits, diet, and everything about healthy living. Join us in our banters as we help you not just live life to the fullest, but live it to the healthiest.
And we're back here at the Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. And like I said, we're going to talk a little bit of baseball here before we end the show. 3 kind of significant things happening in Los Angeles, funny enough, on the NL and AL sides of the fence here. So let's start with the most notable, something we were talking about a lot with some closers. You had Mark Melancon was one of the top closers on the market. He went to the Giants. You had, obviously, Aroldis Chapman, whom re-signed with the Yankees last week. And then the last man there was Kenley Jansen of the Dodgers, who was looking for another deal as well. Well, he signed a 5-year, $80 million deal to return to the Dodgers. Again, he was a trio of those 3 closers. The last 2 signed. Not the biggest deal, though. That still belongs to Aroldis Chapman, $86 million. So Jansen's deal is the second largest in history. Jansen recorded 47 saves and 71 appearances for the Dodgers in 2016, finishing the year with a 1.83 ERA And he was a recipient of the Major League Baseball's 2016 Trevor Hoffman Award for the National League Reliever of the Year. Pretty good, if you ask me. He returns to a Dodger bullpen that ranked first in MLB in ERA at 3.35 and second in WHIP, opponent's batting average, and then OPS. I got ahead of myself there. Kenley Jensen has also 7.1 to 1 strikeout ratio over the last 4 seasons. Is the best in Major League Baseball. Pretty good, if you ask me. After June 20th, he became the all-time saves leader for the Dodgers as well. He passed Eric Gagne. Those remember him, always with the goggles, passing the previous record he had at 161. Finished the year with a total of 189 saves. His career, obviously, his 632 strikeouts as a reliever also passed the Dodger club record formerly held by Jim Brewer at 604. Staying with the Dodgers, free agent third baseman Justin Turner is apparently close to a deal that will return him to the Dodgers. Apparently, the Dodgers have a contract on the table for him. Two sides are just closing the deal on specifics. Even though he had microfracture surgery in the offseason for his knee, he had his best major league season in 2016, batting .275 with a .493 slugging percentage, which is above his career mark of .439. He also has career best in home runs at 27, RBIs of 90, doubles of 34, and he received a Gold Glove Award finalist ballot at third base. You apparently right now, they're still trying to finalize a deal that will be 4 years in length with a guarantee of $64 million, according to a source with the Dodgers, but has not been approved upon yet. Sticking in L.A. in a sense, but going to Anaheim, the Angels have acquired safety. Still in football mode. The Angels have acquired shortstop Danny Espinosa from the Nationals. So Los Angeles Dodgers, Angels again, acquired. He's a middle infielder, obviously being a shortstop for 2 minor league pitchers. The Angels sent over right-handers Austin Adams and Kyle McGowan to the Nationals for Espinosa, who presumably lost his job when Washington obtained outfielder Adam Eaton from the Chicago White Sox on Wednesday, a move that means the NL rookie runner-up Trey Turner will go from center field back to his natural position at shortstop. Espinosa had a pretty solid year last year, hitting .209 with a career-high 24 home runs and 72 RBIs as the starting shortstop for Washington last year. In his 7 Major League seasons, all with the Nationals, the switch hitter has batted .226 as his average, .226, and he had 92 homers and 285 RBIs over those 7 years. He's a 2-time Gold Glove winner, but he's going into a spot where there's a 2-time Gold Glove winner, Andrelton Simmons. Andrelton Simmons, though, through his career, his OPS is just .671. Espinosa, however, could fill a void at second base, add some young talent to a team that has the likes of the AL MVP Mike Trout. It'll be interesting to see what they do with Espinosa. He's not a great player. He's definitely a middle of the round kind of player, but he can make some noise. He can do some good things, if you ask me. Personally, I think he can. All right, and a couple, last but not least, to mention, the MLB has a new hazing rule that bans dressing as women and offensive costumes as well. The baseball hazing ritual of dressing rookies is now banned in that sense. They created the anti-hazing and anti-bullying policy that covers the practice as part of the sport's new labor deal set to be ratified by both sides on Tuesday. The policy obtained by the Associated Press prohibits teams from requiring, coercing, or encouraging players to engage in activities that may include dressing up as women or wearing costumes that may be offensive to individuals based on their race, sex, nationality, age, sexual orientation, gender identity, or other characteristic. So something that a lot of people will like that they did. Something that a lot of people will appreciate. A lot of people don't necessarily, I guess, think of some of those repercussions because it's just, the whole hazing thing. So, not a bad move, MLB. I like it. And then last but not least, on some downside news, Colorado Rockies pitcher Chad Batiste has been diagnosed with testicular cancer. He underwent surgery earlier this week, and actually earlier a few weeks ago in late November. He's 27. He expects to make a full recovery. He'll be ready to report for spring training in Arizona as part of his recovery. But hopefully all is well and good with him. He went 14-8 this year with a 4.79 ERA and 32 starts this season. Led the Colorado staff with 186 innings pitched. Impressive, to say the least. All right, as always, we would like to thank you guys for listening to the Golden State Media Concept Sports Podcast. Tomorrow, like I said, Anthony will be here, Ben will be here, all the sports you can imagine. But until then, we have to sign out for the day. Thank you so much for tuning in. As always, for Ben and for Anthony, I'm Alex. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll talk to you later. You guys enjoy your sports.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.